The chill of dawn had not yet yielded to the sun. Across the eastern horizon, streaks of pale orange and soft pink painted the underside of a vast cloud layer. Two silhouettes, sharp and menacing, sliced through this ethereal canvas. A Russian Su-35 Flanker E, accompanied by the more advanced Su-57 Felon, ascended with powerful roars. Their engines burned fiercely, leaving faint trails in the cold, thin air. Below them, the Ukrainian landscape remained cloaked in morning mist. The tension was a physical presence, even at this altitude, a prelude to the violence to come. These were instruments of war, embarking on a deadly mission. Both fighter jets were heavily armed, prepared for multiple contingencies. Gleaming R-77 Adam medium-range, radar-guided missiles and R-73 Archer short-range infrared homing missiles hung ominously from their pylons. Inside their respective cockpits, the pilots were studies in concentration. Their gloved hands moved with practiced efficiency across controls. Glowing, multifunction displays provided a constant stream of data. They were elites, trained for this exact moment, their focus absolute. The fate of targets on the ground, and indeed their own, rested on their skill and the capabilities of their sophisticated machines. The pair of Russian jets reached their designated operational altitude, leveling off above the broken clouds. Their powerful onboard radar systems began to actively scan the terrain sprawling miles below. Within moments, their sensors picked out the designated target, a distant Ukrainian checkpoint. It appeared as a tiny, insignificant blip on their tactical displays. Yet, in the grand strategy of this conflict, it was deemed important enough for such a strike. The lead pilot confirmed the target coordinates with his wingman. The lock-on was secure. The moment to strike was rapidly approaching. With the target confirmed and parameters set, the pilots initiated their attack sequence. From the underwing pylons of both the Su-35 and the Su-57 long-range cruise missiles detached. There was a bright flash and a guttural roar as their rocket motors ignited, propelling them forward with incredible speed. The missiles streaked away from the parent aircraft, arcs of smoke tracing their paths towards the unsuspecting Ukrainian position far below. The jets themselves banked gracefully, their initial task complete. Their deadly payloads were now autonomous, hurtling towards impact, representing a sudden, lethal threat. On the ground, hidden from direct sight, Ukrainian air defense units remained on high alert. The metallic framework of an S-300 PMU, SA-10 Grumble, surface-to-air missile systems radar dish rotated methodically. It was a sentinel, its electronic gaze sweeping the sky for any sign of hostile intent. The pre-dawn quiet of the Ukrainian countryside was deceptive. Inside the associated command post, operators monitored their screens, their faces illuminated by the eerie green glow. They were the first line of defense against aerial attack, their vigilance a constant necessity in this brutal war. Every sweep of the radar was a question asked of the empty sky. Suddenly the calm was shattered. The S-300's sophisticated phased array radar detected multiple incoming threats. First, the fast-moving cruise missiles, their radar signatures small but clear. Moments later, the system registered the high-altitude presence of the attacking Russian fighter jets. Alarms blared urgently through the command vehicle. Voices became sharp, issuing clipped commands. The atmosphere inside the shelter became instantly charged with adrenaline. Data flooded the consoles, painting a grim picture of the unfolding attack. There was no time for hesitation. Swift action was paramount to survival. The S-300 crew reacted with well-drilled precision. A target solution was quickly calculated for the incoming threats. A 9M96E interceptor missile, a highly agile weapon designed to counter precisely such attacks, was selected and armed. With a deafening roar that shook the very ground, the missile erupted from its vertical launch tube. It climbed skywards on a brilliant pillar of fire and smoke, its own contrail a stark white line against the progressively lightening sky. Its singular mission to find and destroy the incoming Russian ordnance and, if possible, the launch platforms themselves. The operators watched its ascent, their hopes riding with it. Almost simultaneously, another Ukrainian air defense asset sprang into action. A Buck M1 SA-11 Gadfly mobile SAM launcher, strategically positioned to provide layered defense, elevated its quartet of missile tubes. Its own target acquisition radar had locked onto one of the hostile aircraft, the Su-35 Flanker E. With a percussive thump, a 9M38 missile blasted from its launcher, accelerating rapidly. This missile too carved a path through the air, a second spear of defiance hurled by the Ukrainian defenders. The book crew tracked its progress intently, their faces grim with determination, praying for a successful engagement against the formidable Russian fighter. The early morning sky was now a chaotic canvas of converging missile trails. The smoky paths of the Russian cruise missiles arced downwards towards their intended target. climbing to meet them with the thinner, brighter contrails of the Ukrainian interceptors. The S-300's 9M96E missile streaked upwards, guided by its parent radar system. The Buk's 9M38 missile, a deadly projectile in its own right, homed in on the Su-35. It was a deadly ballet of high technology, playing out at thousands of feet, the stakes impossibly high. The air itself seemed to crackle with the imminent violence, a silent scream before the storm. The Ukrainian Buk-1's 9M38 missile closed the distance to the targeted Su-35 with astonishing speed. The Russian pilot, likely alerted by his aircraft's sophisticated radar warning receiver, would have registered the imminent threat. He may have initiated desperate, evasive maneuvers, dispensing chaff and flares to decoy the incoming missile. However, the Buk system was renowned for its effectiveness against agile targets. In this instance, the missile's guidance system remained locked. There was no escape. The interceptor was true to its course, a messenger of destruction closing in inexorably. The inevitable occurred with brutal finality. The 9M38 missile slammed into the Russian Su-35. A brilliant orange and yellow fireball erupted in the sky, momentarily eclipsing the gentle light of dawn. The powerful fighter jet, a symbol of Russian air power, was instantly obliterated. Twisted metal and burning debris rained down, scattering across the clouds below. The explosion was a stark, visceral punctuation mark in the aerial duel. For a fleeting moment, an eerie silence followed the blast, quickly broken by the continued roar of the other aircraft and the distant thrum of missiles still in flight. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian's 300 Systems 9M96E interceptor missile continued its ascent. While primarily targeting the incoming cruise missiles, its advanced capabilities allowed it to also engage the remaining Russian fighter, the Su-57 Felon. The interceptor did not achieve a direct hit on the stealthy fifth-generation jet. Instead, its proximity fuse detonated the warhead when it calculated the optimal point of engagement near the Su-57. Lethal shrapnel from the exploding warhead sprayed outwards at high velocity. Several fragments tore into the Su-57, critically damaging its port wingtip and sending shudders through its airframe. The advanced Su-57, a jewel of Russian aerospace engineering, was now damaged. Though still airborne, it was clearly crippled. The pilot fought to maintain control as the aircraft shuddered violently. Acrid black smoke began to trail from the shattered port wingtip, a visible testament to the S-300's near miss. The stealth characteristics of the Felon were likely compromised, making it a far more vulnerable target. The hunter had become the hunted, its pilot acutely aware that the danger had not passed. Survival was now the primary concern, the original mission objectives likely abandoned. With his aircraft damaged and his wingman shot down, the surviving Russian pilot made a desperate split-second decision. He banked the Su-57 sharply away from the engagement area, pushing its remaining engine to maximum thrust. As a precautionary measure against any further missile threats, he deployed a volley of decoy flares. These ignited into brilliant incandescent blooms behind the retreating jet. The Su-57, trailing smoke and uncertainty, limped eastward through the thick, dark plumes left by the destroyed Su-35, seeking the relative safety of Russian-controlled airspace. Its sortie had ended in partial failure and a harrowing escape. Down on the ground, within the cramped confines of the Ukrainian S-300 and Buk command posts, the tension slowly began to ease. Confirmation of the Su-35's destruction crackled over the radio. This was followed by reports from tracking radar indicating that the second Russian aircraft, the Su-57, was damaged and retreating at speed. A wave of cautious relief washed over the operators. This soon gave way to spontaneous cheers and backslaps. Against technologically advanced adversaries, they had not only defended their ground, but had also exacted a significant price. They had drawn blood. The dawn sky, so recently a theater of deadly aerial combat, began to return to a semblance of normality. The missile trails slowly dissipated, though the dark, oily smoke from the downed Su-35 would linger as a scar for some time. For the Ukrainian air defenders, however, there was little respite. They remained vigilant, their systems scanning, ready for the next inevitable confrontation. This engagement, though a small victory in the wider conflict, served as a potent reminder of their unwavering resolve and the critical effectiveness of their layered air defense network. Today, they had held the line. The war, however, continued.